Okay, another Magnavox ZV427MG9. Dear Steve, I appreciate your YouTube videos on the Magnavox ZV427MG9A. I hope you can help me with the enclosed unit acquired from an eBay seller. It has two issues. First, the VCR part shuts off after 15 seconds of running a cassette, which you have covered in one of your videos. I don't use this feature all that much. Can't feed the DVD record side with another VCR player, but it would be nice to get it working. Second, the whole unit was dead following the power outages in the recent major storm. This appeared to be the result of a blown fuse. To access it, I removed the HDMI board and the part underneath it. I was right about the fuse. Put a new one and power was restored, but after replacing the removed parts, the open-close command did not work. No response at all, not even noise. After I tried fussing with the buttons a few times, the power reverted to the triple blinking light syndrome, which you have covered in a video. To remove the larger part above the fuse and power supply, I had to take out the 4 screws holding it down. I didn't have the proper tool to put them back in place. I found some longer screws about the same size to secure the part, but may have damaged the threads in the screw holes. The original screws are in the bag attached to the top of the unit. As I said, I'm not in a super hurry to have this fixed, as I have another identical Magnavox with different problems, which I can limp along for the time being. We now have Xfinity DVR, but I still like to record DVDs and share with a family member who doesn't live with us. Anyway, thanks for your attention to this and let me know what you find. Mike in Burlingame, California. Okay, let's get started. So yes, there are parts attached to the top of the unit. There they are. Those are the 4 DVD hold down screws and the grounding tabs that ground the top cover to the DVD board. But let's go ahead and pull the top off this unit, power it up and see what it does. Okay, so I'm just going to use the cell phone to record this portion of it. And looking down in here, yeah, these are most definitely the wrong screws to go back into the DVD mechanism. And this one over here is a brass screw, it looks like. And a couple of things I don't like, well, this is obviously disconnected. And the laser optical pickup has been unplugged, which can subject that to electrostatic discharge. So whenever possible, do not unplug this connector unless absolutely necessary. But anyhow, looking at the complete unit, the fan definitely has some dust on it. This thing's been run for some considerable amount of time. And the VCR mechanism definitely has a bunch of dust buildup. Probably is going to need a good cleaning, but we'll address that issue when we get to it. Okay, let's go ahead and connect everything back up, power this thing up, and see what it does. Okay, so I have the ribbon cable connected, and I do have the correct screws back in their correct locations. I have the grounding tabs mounted on the circuit board as they should be, and then those 2 screws are mounted correctly down here as they should be. So next, I'm going to go ahead and power this thing up and see what it does. Okay, video capture device is set up. Let's go ahead and open the drawer, and it does actually open. I'm going to go ahead and pop a DVD into it and close the drawer, and we'll see if it reads the table of contents and if it can play the disc. And it did actually read the table of contents. So let's hit play and see if it actually plays. It did kind of struggle with reading the table of contents, but it is actually playing, so that's good. We'll go ahead and take a look at the DVD optical pickup, but I want to see if it's going to play a VHS tape. Maybe the customer doesn't care. He noted he didn't really care about the VHS portion of it, but we'll go ahead and take a look at it nevertheless. So I'm going to stop the DVD. I'm going to switch it over to the VHS mode. Okay, so let's go ahead and pop a tape into it. And see if it's going to play, and if so, for how long.
Little.
Pequeña.
Big.
Grande.
Little.
Pequeña.
You see El Mago? Where?
And the unit did shut down. So let's power it back up. It should eject the tape at this point, and it did. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the prism completely right here. I'll clean the complete prism because any dust on the outside of the prism can actually obstruct the infrared beam. We'll go ahead and clean the emitter LED, which lives right under the prism, the detector LED, which lives underneath this real rotation sensor that makes and breaks the light by the slot in that gear. And then we'll go ahead and clean the supply and the take-up sensors at the same time and see if that resolves the problem. Hopefully that's all it is. The mode select switch actually seems to be in fantastic condition. I've tried this 3 or 4 times off camera and it worked perfectly every time. So let's get started. So just go ahead and remove that one screw. Lift the prism out right there. And just to be safe, go ahead and lift this gear completely off of the shaft. So there is the infrared emitter, and from this perspective it looks quite dirty. So it might be hard to see because of the close focus, but I have a cotton swab moistened with regular household glass cleaner. I'm just going to go ahead and wipe off the tip of that infrared emitter. We'll turn it back over and use the dry end to dry it off. And hopefully it's going to look much better after this. And so far from what I can see, it looks a lot better than when we started. Now the receiver lives down in this hole where you took the gear off. So I'm just going to go ahead and wipe off the receiver. And once again, take the dry end and dry off the receiver. And really couldn't tell, but it looks much cleaner. I have the exposure up all the way, but I really can't see down inside there at all. Once again, another cotton swab just moistened with the regular household glass cleaner. I'm going to clean off the entrance and the exit. Then I want to clean in the groove and the mirror side of the prism. We'll dry it off. And then I want to clean the outside of the prism as well, because any dust that collects on this thing can actually disrupt the light flow. Mainly you want to pay attention to the flat surfaces. And then we should have a perfectly clean prism when we're done. Let's go ahead and install the gear, put the prism back in, and then we'll clean the take-up and supply sensors as well. Okay, because I had my hands around this prism, I'm just going to give it one more wipe off once I have it mounted back in here. Clean the post, clean the mirror surfaces. Then with the dry end, we'll dry everything off. Now we'll clean the supply sensor. Only the tip of it really needs to be cleaned because that's all it really looks at. Dry it off with the dry end. Then over here on this side, we'll clean the take-up sensor. Same thing, just make sure the tip is clean. Dry it off with the dry end. Let's go ahead and fire this thing up and give it another test. All right, let's pop a tape back into it and see if it runs more than about 10 seconds. Well, I'm pretty happy with that. It's still going. It's been about 15 seconds now. Let's go ahead and stop it and check the fast forward and rewind functionality and make sure that it works correctly. Yes, it should have shut down a long time ago if that real rotation detector had not detected pulses. Let's check fast forward. Absolutely perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and service the DVD optical pickup at this point, and I will check the ESR of the capacitors on the DVD recorder board at the same time. Okay, well there is the DVD optical pickup with some light shining across it, and yes, there is a fair amount of fuzz actually on the lens. So let's go ahead and give it a cleaning. Once again, cotton swab, just moistened with regular household glass cleaner, not soaked. You don't want this to run down in the magnet assembly where the wires are. You can actually see a couple of the wires right up in this corner right here. So there's a couple of permanent magnets and some coils, and that's what causes the lens to move right and left and the focus up and down. So I'm just going to go ahead and clean it in circular motions. I want to rotate my cotton swab with very, very light pressure. You don't want to press too terribly hard. Then I'll dry it off the same way. Circular motions while rotating the cotton swab. And take a look at that now, much better. Let's go ahead and check the caps in the DVD board and see how they fare. Okay, here we go. Blue ESR meter set up. Let's just check these real quick. 330 at 6.3, 0.8, I'm okay with that. 47 at 16, 1.8, just a hair high for my liking, but acceptable. 330, 6.3, 2.8. A 47 at 6.3 is 3.7 ohms. It's right on the edge of reality. 330 at 6 volts, 0.34 ohms, good. These are all the same. 0.29, good. 0.24, good. 0.8, just a hair high, but I want to see it under 1 ohm. 0.24, good. Now these are the ones I've had problems with, these 47s at 6.3. 4 ohms, that's a bit high. 100 at 6.3. 1.6, I'd like that to be lower. Normally that one's the bad one and this one is the good one. So that one is 0.44, perfectly fine. 2.7 on a 47, I'm okay with that. 0.43 on a 330, okay. 0.26 on a 330, that's okay. 3.4, just a hair high for my liking. 3.3, just a hair high once again. And 3.5, just a hair high. So I think I'm going to recommend to the customer to go ahead and change all 6 of the 47s at 6.3 and this one 100 at 6.3 as well. All the rest of them actually check pretty good. I'm used to having problems right here in these capacitors. Usually 1 or 2 of them or even 3 of them are bad. These are perfect. I've had issues with this 47 at 16 right there. That one tests absolutely perfect. And I think while I got this thing this far apart, I'll go ahead and replace that problematic 4700 microfarad 6.3 volt cap in the power supply. So this may be part 1 of 2, pending the customer's approval. This one's going to be a pretty economical repair, just cleaning the prism. I'm not going to service the mode select switch. It appears to be in perfect condition. Clean the optical pickup, replace these caps, and the customer down in Burlingame, California should be totally happy. So hopefully there is a part 2 to this. Everybody, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.